Hey everyone, it's me again, Evgeny, and today I'm interviewing Frederick Van Johnson, the guy who actually interviewed me just a couple of weeks ago for the This Week in Photo podcast, and we'll be talking here and there a couple of questions around how the podcast has started and how Frederick just came from the shooting for one of the companies. So it's really interesting to find out what's your day looks like.
Yeah.
But I'll start with a pretty simple question.
Sure.
Um, how how did the idea for This Week in Photo started, and how did you get involved in this?
Yeah, that's a great question. This Week in Photo started, 6 or so years ago, and it was actually started by my friend Alex Lindsay and another one of my friends, Scott Bourne. So they got together, they said, hey, let's do this show. And Alex is a friend of Leo Laporte, who does This Week in Tech. So it was okay, let's just do a This Week in Photo show. Long story short, they both got busy. I was at Adobe at the time, got laid off when Adobe laid off 500 people one day, so I was in that mass exodus. And my friend Alex calls up, he says, hey, I hear you got some time on your hands. You want to host this show? And I said, yeah, why not? So that's how it started. And then from there, I learned to host and then evolved the show and that sort of thing.
So I guess like your first episode were maybe something resembling to my episodes, makeshift studio, whatever works, we're in front of
It was worse. It was worse than that. The first episode, so before I took over the show, I was a guest on the show, but I could never be a real guest because I worked at Adobe, right? So I couldn't really
freely.
Yeah, I couldn't talk freely. I'm under the corporate umbrella. I can't, say anything disparaging about any of the competitors, So you know how it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but those first episodes, we were doing them on Skype, which was even less robust than it is now.
So I guess that was a bad idea.
It was iffy, It was like making a long distance call right after the phone was invented. so yeah.
Hello?
Yeah,
Hello?
he's like, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
And that's all like not live but recorded, and then people will have to suffer through all this.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, it was rough. The early days was rough. We're getting better and better, but everyone was new. We were trying to figure out the show, and then the back end was difficult, but now, and podcasting was new. So
Absolutely,
we were pioneers. So now things are a little bit easier, the tools are there, the infrastructure is there, so now we can sort of concentrate on content.
And what I like that, when I'm watching myself on This Week in Photo, my camera sucks. When I see Frederick, it's all crystal clear, full HD, the great microphone, great light, and you were talking about the light on one of your shows, the video light that you use.
Yeah.
And I'm there sitting in the office in the dark, and there's usually there's cleaners come at that time,
of course.
and they do their things.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's the thing though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like the stuff that I use to do my show, you could buy now on Amazon. I mean, it's just a couple things, a light, a better mic, and interface. You plug it into your Mac, and
So I think this is a really interesting question. This the whole idea of making videos and drone videos and everything has been democratized heavily in the last few years.
Absolutely.
You want to shoot video, full HD, 4K, it's accessible. Right? You want to shoot drone videos. Pretty cheap as well.
It's incredible.
And if you think 5-6 years back, you want to shoot something from above, you either get a helicopter or a rig, and it's like thousands of dollars a day, maybe an hour.
Yep.
And
it still wouldn't probably look as good as it would from a drone today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I remember back a long time ago, I worked at the San Jose Mercury News, which is a local newspaper here in the Bay Area. And they were just getting into video. They were just getting into multimedia. This is back when they had just started their website. It was called the Mercury Center. And they were thinking, we should put video on this site. So they asked me to figure that out. The options at that time were $20,000, $30,000 editing-based systems with Avid and all this other stuff and hard drives, and it still never worked right, And then one day, Apple launched the iMac. And we replaced the entire editing bay with one iMac, and that was it.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
When you look back and just all this studio, and people can edit videos on the go.
Yep.
While like sitting, I don't know,
On your phone,
even on the phone, absolutely. Yeah, it was pretty high. Like people 10 years ago would be surprised what you can do. So they would be pretty amazed.
It's magic.
Yeah. So you've been doing this for 6 years, and you amassed a pretty large following. Are you tired?
Well, yes and no. So I say yes because I think This Week in Photo, it's a routine. It's fun, you know. It's like working out. You're like when you don't do it, you miss it, you know. But I think it's gotten to the level now where it needs to evolve into something bigger. You know, the audience is big, and people have come to rely on it and expect it, kind of like a TV show that you like. But for me to keep doing something, it needs to be interesting. So we're as we were talking about a little bit before, we're about to evolve the show into something a little bit bigger.
So tell me more about this.
I'm happy to. So This Week in Photo, essentially following in the footsteps of Leo Laporte, the great Leo Laporte over at This Week in Tech. We're taking the show and splitting it from being just one siloed general show, This Week in Photo, to being This Week in Photo as the main show, and then several vertically oriented genre-based shows underneath it. So we've already launched a show called All About the Gear with DoneK.
Right.
That'll be a podcast, a subscribable podcast. The interviews that I do, like the one I did with you, that will also be its own feed, so people can just subscribe to just the interviews, or search them, all that stuff. Then there'll be a landscape show. Karen Hutton is going to host that.
I really look forward to that.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing. Yeah, she's going to host that. There'll be a model photography show with Brian Fisher and Roxanne Calley, who's a model. So it'll be a photographer-model co-hosting sort of gig. Joseph Linaschke, who does Aperture Expert, now thephotosexpert.com, he's going to do applications. So photography applications and software and websites. So he'll be talking about 500 pics. He'll be talking about the new Photos app, obviously, iPhone apps, all that kind of stuff. So there's several.
It's interesting that you mentioned that the last segment is mostly about the mobile photography.
Yeah.
Right? The Photos app. And so don't you think it's evolving much faster than we all actually think it is?
Yeah, it is.
Like, if you are in the photo industry, you're kind of like surrounded in that little bubble. You want GF4, you want D800, 10, or you want D4S or something.
Whatever your flavor.
Yeah, whatever your flavor is. But regular people, they look at us and think like, you're crazy, right? I have my smartphone and that's it. And I'll have 3 apps, right? And I'll use Instagram all day long.
Right.
And that's all I need, right? Because that gets me through the day.
Yeah.
So aren't we like in that little bubble?
No, I don't think so. I think, if you look at it from, like you said, the consumer perspective, they say, hey, I have this iPhone, it shoots 16 megapixels or whatever, and your new Sony A7S only shoots 12 megapixels, my camera's better than yours. So it's the right tool for the right job. So I carry my iPhone with me everywhere normally, and I always have a camera. I'm taking pictures with it all the time, but these aren't photos that I feel like I'm going to become an artisan with. I'm not creating art. Although you could with an iPhone. I just don't, personally. And I think that the crowd of people that are out there shooting and contributing to those numbers that are saying that smartphones are, sort of taking over, are those people that are taking pictures, putting them on Facebook, they're posting them here, they're Instagramming, whatever.
If you're the one putting pictures on Facebook and you shoot it during the day, and on Facebook will change the quality a little bit. The difference between 5D Mark III and iPhone would be almost unnoticed.
Right.
You wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah, with the caveat that if you're doing shots that have shallow depth of field and all that, of course you're going to know that was a professional shot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because the optics in the smaller cameras just can't do that yet.
And they're learning to do it through software.
Right?
So they are faking that.
Yep.
But if the result is good enough, that's something that I think people were thinking. 4K TV, 8K TV. Guess like a 16K TV, and then you realize that people they don't care about the quality if they can get something faster.
Right.
If they can get their cat videos faster, they don't care if it's the most horrible quality.
That's right. Yeah, it's all about speed, and and convenience, ease of use, right?
So where do you put yourself? More on the speed side or the quality side?
I put myself more on the quality side, but I say both, because I say, if I'm walking around with my iPhone and I see something interesting, I'll snap a picture of it, but I'm not going to print that. I'm not going to put it on the wall. It's just like, oh, that's kind of cool. I might put it on Instagram. But I've been sort of throwing the phrase around multimediaographer, and that's
Oh, wow.
yeah.
That's the first I heard.
Yeah, and that term applies to just the photographer, today's photographer that's doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're recording video, you're doing audio, you shoot, your work is amazing, you're traveling around, you're doing all these different things. You're not just a still photographer.
I think people are just evolving, and if you started in photography, you want to move to video. I think eventually you find that video is 24, 30 times harder than photo. So if you can organize a video shoot that takes your creative abilities much, much further. So you actually can learn a lot more. And doing the interviews, I think in the week that I was editing those, I learned a lot more about videos than ever before.
Right. You're like, oh, this is a little harder than I thought. Yeah. But then you got to think of it, it's not just making traditional videos with, the storyline, all that stuff. The multimediaography part comes in where you may want to shoot a still photo of a scene, say a scene somewhere here in San Francisco, and then record a little bit of ambient audio and put it with that. Or you may do one of these cinemagraphs where you record video and then go back in with an app like Flixel and paint in the animation piece of it. Or go shoot video, put your camera on a tripod, shoot video, and then extract a 4K frame from it.
Yeah, or do a time lapse.
Yeah, exactly. So all these things come together now. We can do all this now. Where before we couldn't.
Absolutely. So it's a changing landscape, and I think we'll see a lot more these hybrid solutions where it's hard to tell whether it's a photo or a video or something in between.
And it won't matter. That's the cool thing about it is, in the end, we as photographers, we're inside the bubble, right? So we're like, what camera did he use? What lens? Oh, look at the bokeh. It's got a circular pattern,
Yeah.
We care about that stuff.
Yeah.
But the people that we shoot for are not photographers. People miss that. We're not shooting for photographers. We're shooting for people that look at the thing that we shot and say, wow, that's amazing. It's like you don't go into the Sistine Chapel and look at the ceiling and you're like, wow, I wonder how many camel hairs were on the paintbrush that you used. You don't care. You look at the art. That's what
But other painters would care.
Other painters care because they want to try to do it.
Yeah. Well, Frederick, thanks a lot for coming by. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
I can talk about this stuff all day.
Absolutely. Me too. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Cool, man. You're welcome.